Hey, podcast listeners, it's TJ.
And Julie.
And in episode 69 of the Pixar Post podcast, we're going to chat about a ton of Pixar news. We're going to talk about some of the release dates that have changed, as well as one that was confirmed. We're going to talk about an upcoming poster show with 15 new posters that are going to be released. We're going to talk about Disney Plus, some of the feature films that are going to be coming. We know some of those dates, some of the ones that are currently missing. Not some of them, all of them that are currently missing. And then we're going to talk to Jake Monaco. It's a super exciting interview. He's the composer of the Forky Asks a Question, the hilarious Forky Asks a Question series. So we're going to dive into all of that and his experience working with Bob Peterson and recording in Capitol Studios. And then after the interview, we're going to talk about our opinions of the Forky Asks a Question 2 shorts that are out right now. What do you think? Should we get started?
That's a lot of stuff to get started.
As always, I always tend to talk too long when I try to recap everything. Is that all right?
Okay. I think it's okay.
All
You
right,
always
good.
think it's too much, but I mean, I think it's fine.
All right, cool. But you know what comes next.
Trivia, and I've got a trivia question for you.
All right. Would you like to go first, or would you
No.
like me to go first?
I want you can ask me first.
Okay. So that's a better way to say it, because
Yeah.
if you just said who goes first.
know.
So I only have one today.
I only have one too.
Okay, perfect. So there are 3 short films or projects in general at Pixar
Okay.
that start with P-A-R-T. There are 3 of them that start with P-A-R-T, those letters. What are they?
Partly Cloudy, Party Central, Party Source Rex.
Oh my gosh. For some reason in my mind, I thought that was going to be a little harder.
Yeah, that was an easy one.
Oh, all right, cool.
All 3 are fantastic.
That's correct.
Well, that was good. Okay. Well,
I'm glad I'm sitting in the seat I'm in, because over your shoulder is the Partysaurus Rex poster that we have. And part of me was like, oh, if she sits where I'm at, she might see it. So that's another reason I wanted to sit over here.
I got that one. Wow.
That was super fast.
I know it was. You said it and it was like ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
I was like, I just knew.
Good enough.
Oh, that was good. Well, I keep my streak alive of knowing stuff.
I like it. So what is your question for moi?
Okay. In the latest Forky Asks a Question
Yes.
original Disney Plus original series, the latest one is Forky. What is a friend?
Yes.
How many times does Forky say, what? No.
Okay.
Excuse me. I think I'm losing my voice a little.
This is not going to be easy.
And
You must have counted these.
I counted. I think I've watched that one like 20,
Oh, it's great.
30 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, how many times does Forky say, what? No.
Okay, so now usually I give you multiple choice. Am I going to receive multiple choice?
I can give you multiple choice if you want, or you can just guess.
multiple choice.
Okay. 6,
Yeah.
8,
Yeah.
9.
Okay. So I know at the very beginning he jumps down from the picture that he's on, and he says, "This is my friend." What? No. And then he says, "What? No," one other time before he even says, and I know that's my friend's name because Bonnie's mom says it. And so then he says it then, and then he says, "What do you think? What? No." And then he says another instance when he's doing like talking about friends and dancing. So I'm going to say that's 6 right there. Then I think he says, like, he gets to the end and he's like, he does a quiet one. You taught me what? No. Like, what? No. Mm-hmm. And then at the end he does are you counting when he says, what? No. And it cuts.
Because he says, what? No.
So you said 6, 8, or 9?
Yes.
I believe it's 9.
Yes. It is.
All right.
It is. And it was tricky because when he says, hey, Trevor.
Oh, yeah.
him,
Hey, Trevor.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor.
So good.
He says, what? And I did not count that one.
That doesn't count.
Because he didn't say what? No.
No. Well, because it wasn't addressing what? No.
Yeah, it was just, but yes, he says it 9 times.
All right.
Good. Oh, man, we were both on fire tonight.
Except I gave some time to process.
Well, I didn't.
Because you knew it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk some news.
Okay.
So the first thing that we have to talk about are changes to some of the release dates that are out there. So we have
Feature film release dates.
excellent point. Yes.
Yes.
Feature film release dates. And we had done a post a couple weeks back about this. In fact, we talked about it on the last podcast. So we're not going to dive into too many of the background stuff this time, but we're going to talk about some of the confirmations of dates that we have heard now, because Disney released a massive schedule where they've got like 4 Marvel films listed in 1 year at one point in like 2024 or something silly like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy moly, they've got a ton of films coming out.
It's funny. It's like they've almost slowed down with Star Wars and they've amped up Marvel.
Oh, for sure.
Like, oh, I think we released too many Star Wars all at once.
But not enough Marvel.
Superheroes.
So I'll go through these, but just for, the sake. So next year, 2020, of course, we've got Onward on March 6th and Soul on June 19th. In 2021, there's one film in June, and these are always March or June, so it's just remember that in general. So 2021 is June 18th. That's an untitled film still. All of the rest of these are untitled. In 2022, it was originally noted as March 18th, but now it has moved to March 11th, so it moved up a week. No big deal. And then the June film, they're doing that March-June again. 2 different films in a year, 3 months apart, is June 17th, 2022, 2023. Now, we had previously projected this date of June 16th. And not that it's a stretch, seeing as June 17th the year before, and then June 19th. It's basically always right in that week. But, we had predicted it, and, it turned out to be June 16th, 2023 is confirmed now. Now, there's still an unconfirmed 2024 release.
Do you think that's going to be like November? Because they were doing November releases for a couple of the films.
That's true. That's
quite a few.
That's actually a good point. But
because even the original Toy Story was released in November.
Yes, it was.
I know.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
But I actually think that it's going to stick to March.
I wonder why. I guess because I kind of like a Pixar film around the holidays. I mean, I know they're probably competing with other live action studios.
Right. And we'd have to actually look. You know what I didn't do? This is silly because this could help guide some of these. I should have been looking at 2024 to see what they had booked up for the end of the year too. I can't remember. They said that Disney had booked like a November date for one of the years that was coming up as well.
I forget that they have to kind of go along that.
Yeah, they don't want to be at the exact same time.
I get it.
So yeah, we'll have to look at that again. But I think it might be a March, and then if they do a November, I do miss them having a November one. If they do, I think it'll be maybe that year, March and November instead of March and June. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, because March and June is so close.
Yeah. Not that it's a problem for me.
No, not that it's a problem, because it's basically like one film comes out and the next one goes right into the theater. So it's like double dose of Pixar, like right away.
That's right. So anyways, we just got a couple confirmations there. But one of the other things that we can add to this list, we had found a post or an article that was written about Kristen Lester, where she was at her alma mater college, and you wrote this article up, right?
Yeah, Sheridan College in Ontario. It's actually kind of just right outside of Toronto, Canada. I think she's Canadian, too.
That would be correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding.
Again.
She briefly talked about it when I was just at Pixar.
Oh.
But it's like I kind of forgot about it, and then when I saw this article, I was like, oh, that's right, she did say that, she did mention it. But yeah, someone had asked like, oh, what are you working on, currently? And she's like, oh, I'm developing a feature film.
And you just let that slide?
No, not during the panel. I'm talking about
meant when you were talking to her.
Oh, no.
Sorry, in the article.
In the article. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. In the article. So we were like,
Right.
And she was actually one when you wrote that post a while ago of like, speculations.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's got to be probably some of the Spark Shorts directors.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that.
We think that Kristen Lester is developing a feature film. Again, it's not confirmed,
Right.
Nothing like that. But I really, truly think it is. And she is like, I don't know. I feel like she is a good storyteller.
Well, sure.
Like, it's just different.
It definitely is
I think
different.
because Pearl was so different from anything Pixar has done, especially like the more, it's not like adult topics.
Well, it has to be because it's about a struggle in a workplace.
Right.
Yeah.
But then in the article from her college, it kind of said that she kind of, she's finding her way. She's not quite like South Park, but she's not quite G-rated.
Right.
And she's kind of finding her way. And I feel like, wow, that seems like such like a director thing to say. They're just kind of carving their own path.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to follow this and see.
I like it. So that pretty much narrows down our list of potential folks to Adrian Molina, Kristen Lester, Domi Shi, Brian Fee, who's still in the mix as well, but we haven't heard anything extra. Again, Peter Sohn, Bob Peterson potentially. I mean, I know he's finishing, done with Forky Asks a Question now, and then Andrew Stanton. I still want to know what's going on there.
Yeah, and I think Kelsey Mann.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. He's been at the studio for a really long time. He's been like, a lead story guy. I just think he could be in the mix.
Yeah. All right. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So we talked about that a lot last time too. So I didn't want to spend too much time there just because it's like, two episodes in a row. We're just talking about future films and what might be, although it is a heck of a lot of fun to speculate and figure out what's going on.
I know.
But you also wrote a post today about the Spirit of Adventure, a Pixar poster show featuring over 15 new posters from Pixar. So the one that they teased as part of this article was a Coco poster.
Well, this is from Mondo News and Cyclops Print Works. It's hard to say.
Yes.
Cyclops Print Works. I want to add S's where there shouldn't be S's and take away S's. But yeah, they had tweeted yesterday or the day before a Coco poster, and it is stunning. I mean, if you guys know like these awesome like screen printed posters, we have a ton of them.
Yes, too many. In fact, more than we even have frames for, so they're not all framed, and that is sad because we need more of them up, but then we need more wall space.
We need more wall space, and it cost a fortune to frame them because we like frame them and like double mat them.
Right.
And it's but
the poster.
Yeah, the posters. So there's like an awesome poster that was released, the Coco one, and then they teased that starting December 2nd, they're going to start releasing one of them. Like they kind of said, slowly releasing one each day. They didn't even say each day. They just said up until December 6th, which is the opening of the show.
Right.
And there's 15 posters altogether, including the Coco one, done by 9 different artists. So a couple artists have done 2.
Right. It makes me wonder if some of those 15 are variants.
Oh.
Like, are they actually 15 individual, or are they...
I feel like they're going to be 15 individual.
I wonder if
like
it's
films.
9 artists, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 3 of them are variants.
It could be because they always do variants.
Yeah, but maybe they're not counting those. We're going to have to find out. So yeah, December 6th at the Mondo Gallery in Austin, Texas is when they're going to be officially all for sale.
Yes.
And then whatever's excess is going to be available online. Is that how I read it too?
Yes. Oh, that's kind of how they've all done it in the past. It didn't spell it out that way, but that's kind of how they've always done it.
Yeah, so the poster, just so you can know what we're kind of talking about, it's obviously tough to talk about a poster, but if you can picture, if you haven't seen it, of course, if any of these you want to see anything that we're talking about in this episode, go to pixarpost.com, click on the podcast button, and this is episode 69. Think of the moment in the film where Miguel is in his secret hideout attic. He's playing guitar. His back is actually, you see the back of him and the back of the guitar while he's watching Ernesto de la Cruz on the TV. He's surrounded by his homage to Ernesto. Dante is in the foreground, and he is on his back with his tongue flopping out. And there's a Pepita sculpture on the floor. There's papel picado, those like paper cutouts that are across
like the banners.
The banners that are across the top that says Coco, and then it also has Hector and Mama Imelda and a couple other figures and
Mama Coco
that are in there. I mean, in the jewel tones, like of the colors, there's, the colors of the marigold. So there's the orange and that yellowy gold, and there's
maroon. It's really, it's beautiful.
Teals and purples.
Yeah.
Yes, it is gorgeous. I was going to say it may be my favorite, but I'm withholding until I can see it a little more, because I still think it's going to be tough. And I know you agree with me because we've talked about it, that our favorite is the Toy Story one that's by Tom Whalen. And it also has like similar color tones, but there's just something about the layout of that one that I love. But I really, really like this one as well. It's going to be $60. It's an edition of 370. So it's a decent sized edition. Some of the other ones they've done, like, I can't believe this, the Cars one that we got from Tom Whalen, we got the variant one that's a very like black background. That was an edition of 85 and it's still available.
Really? I don't even remember what that one looks like.
Well,
I know we have that one. We have like an Incredibles one. We have a Nemo one.
Right.
That are rolled.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Well, then we've got the Brave one.
That one's framed.
Right. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, we have Monsters, Inc. That one's framed.
That's true.
We have the 25th anniversary of Pixar. That one's framed.
Right. We need more.
Yeah. We almost bought Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, that one's cool.
That one's expensive now on eBay.
Guess we should have bought it.
I know.
So, anyways, just stay tuned. We're going to be tweeting about this. We'll be, of course, tweeting it as soon as they're available for sale. But then we're also going to be updating our post when they're available and posting images of all the posters once they're available, listing the artists. We're very excited about this. One thing I'm not excited about is it sounds like we're going to have to make some choices. Because when you're talking about 15 different prints, how we can't afford them all.
I know. Did we ever buy the Wall-E one or Ratatouille one?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so the Ratatouille one I tried to get. It sold out too fast.
Okay.
That one, for some reason, went super quick. And I didn't like, there was one of the versions, I can't remember if it was the variant or the standard, that I didn't like.
Okay.
And whatever one I didn't like was the only one that was available. So I was like, if I don't like it enough, I'm not going to go for it.
Yeah.
The Wall-E one still drives me bonkers. It's in our eBay watch list. That was the one that you had set an alarm for and forgot.
Oh, oops. There's been a couple things where I've...
Yeah, you set a reminder for yourself. And
I've just been busy doing other things.
Correct.
And then I just forget. Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to be in a meeting, set an alarm. And
that was what? The Knick-Knack. The Knick-Knack Funko.
Oh,
that was the other thing. Oh, no, the Bow one. Oh, man, there's been a few things. Don't trust me to get your things.
So, but yeah, the Wall-E one is one that I really want. And my hard part with that one, because they've come down a little bit, they're still too expensive. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can find them occasionally, but it's another Tom Whalen one. I love it, but I really want the glow-in-the-dark one because... like the whites on it.
I remember, yes.
Glow in the dark, which is super cool. It's the only one that I'm aware of from a Pixar perspective that has anything glow in the dark on it. But I like the colors of the non-glow in the dark one better. But I like the fact that it's glow in the dark.
Right. But
that's just a cool extra thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be looking at it in the dark.
Oh, so every night. I would use it as my nightlight.
Yeah.
So... anyways, so just stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more coming about the posters, and we're super excited yet apprehensive. And this first one is by Cesar Moreno. So he is going to be having at least that one. We'll see if there's any more that are in there. But that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
The other thing that's coming out in February that I'm pretty excited about, and normally I don't get too excited about the extra comic series that are out there. There's Dark Horse Comics put out, they announced not too long ago, and that's how we found out about the Manticore and learning more about that for Onward. But there's a series that's going to be coming out. I believe this was a Laughing Place exclusive, that there's a new mini series about The Incredibles 2. But the reason why I'm excited about it is because it covers Dash.
Is it like Dash's story?
So Dash is known, this is the log line, Dash is known for one thing, speed. From fighting evil to eating breakfast, Dash doesn't do slow no matter what. However, when a new villain named Slowburn arrives on the scene, Dash must learn, and quickly, how to adapt to life at a slower pace. And luckily for him, his family's there to help.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so go ahead and tell the story.
We have to buy this because
exactly.
Dash is literally our son Leo.
Yeah.
He does everything fast. He just runs. He has blonde hair. Honestly, I think he thinks he's Dash.
His profile photo on Disney Plus, as we set it up, I set it up as Dash.
Is Dash.
I didn't really give him a choice at first. I wanted to just kind of surprise him.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if he wants to change it, he's more than welcome, but he liked it.
Oh, he loved it.
He was like, look, Daddy, I'm Dash.
I know. I mean, he thinks he's like the fastest runner. I mean, he literally is Dash, so we're going to have to...
Mm-hmm. His teacher conferences, they said the number one thing he needs to work on is slowing down because he always tries to be first.
He always tries to be first, like with his art and his schoolwork and stuff. It's just like he's doing it all wonderfully and stuff. He's just going too fast. And I'm like, well.
And his birthday's in February, and this comes out in February.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have to get this.
We definitely have to get this.
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely have to get this.
I know. I'm excited.
I mean, great, he's 5, so he won't really.
Right.
I mean, we could read them to him.
Or if it's too like graphic for any reason, then we just save it, or I'll read it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just thought that was kind of cool. We're going to be doing a post about that. So no links for it right now, but I'll update it as, coming up just because it has the cover art and stuff like that.
That's cool. I didn't read about that.
Yeah. So, okay. Disney Plus. So the one thing that I don't think we had talked about on our last podcast was the Disney Plus guide that we created.
That we created or you created?
I obsessively created, yes.
Obsessively mastered.
So unfortunately, though, there's still a couple that I have to add, but I have alerts set up for every time the word Disney Plus is mentioned in the media, and it comes up. And it's like, this so-and-so is doing this. And I'm like, I don't care. So-and-so is doing that. I don't care. And then it's like, this is coming to Disney Plus. And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few more titles that I need to add that I've just recently found. And they continually are adding things. But
you did a great job.
This is a labor of love. So the
all I did was help add artwork.
Yeah. It's a labor of love. It's an online database that gives you a more searchable way to see all the projects. For example, one of the reasons why I felt like it was needed is because if you go to Pixar and just search for short films, nothing comes up.
Nothing.
And if you look at the Pixar through the years at the very bottom, which is like supposed to be a chronological,
it shows like 10 to 12 of them.
It's not every project. Mm-hmm. And if you type George, so if you're looking for the short George and AJ, and if you type A-N-D, it won't show up. But if you do the ampersand, the and symbol, it will show up. So there's faults in the search currently. It doesn't mean that there always will be, but right now they're working on so much to keep it running, to keep adding content and all those other kind of things. I just felt like there needed to be a more clear and easy way. Now, I say that as if I saw it and then immediately whipped this up. This is over a month of work. I predicted this was actually going to be a problem, and I wanted an easier way to look through what we might want to watch. So I'm adding in more all the time. Mm-hmm. For Pixar, I've got it built out completely with genres, run times, everything like that, ratings.
Ratings, yeah.
And all the artwork in HD. So I'm working on getting all the rest of this built out for all the other titles. But I mean, it's over 850 some titles that are in there right now that we typed in, and got the artwork for it, added it and all that. Yeah, you helped out with that, like you had said. But the one thing that you'll see a lot of posts out there. So if you want to see this, by the way, if you haven't seen when we've already posted about it, you can go to, we're also launching a sister site that's called Animated Parenting. So we'll talk more about this in additional posts. This is kind of just a soft launch because we wanted to get the guide out there. But why Animated Parenting? I mean, it's kind of, we had a lot of back and forth on should we include the word parenting in there, because it's kind of like not the thing to do at this point. It's more lifestyle and all these other things. But animated is because, to be animated, to be a parent, you always have to be in motion. And if you're not in motion, you're not keeping up. And part of the other thing is as well, in terms of parenting, is not only is your kid growing, but you should be growing. So being animated is also about being full of life. So it's how do you stay vibrant? How do you stay up with your kids? How do you learn about more things? And it's also, frankly, an excuse for us to talk about other animation and other things that we're interested in.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about like photography tips, tech tips, Disney planning,
Disney parks, Universal. I mean, there's a lot other animation companies, Aardman, all that.
One of the things I was actually going to talk to you about, but I get to just talk about it right here on this podcast with you, is, we had done an advertisement before with Logan, our friend Logan, about doing Disney planning as far as the trips. I think as part of animated parenting, you should offer the services of Disney trip planning, and you should sign up for that.
Oh, probably. You want me to plan a trip for us?
Other people?
Yeah. Because I'm obsessive about it. I will literally plan minute by minute of your day.
Right. But don't stray.
But don't you have fun when we go?
I do. So something to think about. But the other thing that I want to talk about with it, though, with the guide, so you go to animatedparenting.com, and then there's a button on there that says Disney Plus Guide. Or you could just go to disneyplus.guide, and no .com, but just disneyplus.guide, and then it'll come up that way as well. But there's a cool grid off to the right-hand side. If you're on the mobile phone, you're just going to see the list view. If you're on a desktop, you'll see grids off to the right that have other like pivot tables and things like that I get to be all geeky with from like a database and Excel standpoint. But one of them is a grid that essentially has like Disney, Star Wars, Hollywood Pictures, all the different franchises, Fox, that are part of Disney Plus. And then across the top has the different projects. So is it a feature film? Is it a short film? The different categories, TV special, TV series. And if you click in the number field in any one of those, so if you go like a cross section of Pixar and short films, on the right-hand side of that will pull up all the short films. So it's sorted by release date. But there's other views. We got to work up a user guide. I got to figure out more ways to make this more user-friendly, but I think there's a lot out there. But in the upper left-hand corner, there's a way to switch views. So you can already switch those views quickly if you want to just get to just Pixar, just Disney classics, so on and so forth.
Yeah, you did a good job.
So sorry for chatting so long about that. But
he's very proud.
I am.
You should be.
But there's, something else. We've seen a lot of posts out there about what's missing from Disney Plus. And here's a way that you can write in and tell Disney you need this series. And people are, responding on Twitter saying, unacceptable that it's not there. My favorite series isn't there. I watched this when I was 10 and I want it there. Well, it's kind of the way it was planned. Bob Iger, when he announced this, said that it's going to start out at a significantly lower price and over time rise. So they didn't launch this saying that everything is going to be there. And people are like, it's missing. What's happening? It's like, but it will be there. But this is their plan because the more that from a marketing perspective, it makes sense to release stuff in stages.
They have to.
Not only are they releasing the new series and shows in stages, but it makes sense to do legacy content so people don't burn out and just be like, I watched it, I'm good. It continually is reinvigorating it. It's forcing bloggers and other websites to continuously write that word Disney Plus in the media by having stuff come out later and later. It's genius. This marketing release is genius. So that being said, don't worry too much about the list that I'm about to tell you of projects that are currently not on Disney Plus. I would anticipate that they will be, but they're just not there right now. So the first thing I wanted to start out with are feature films that we know are not on there and have a date associated to them. So Coco and Incredibles 2 are on Netflix currently. Coco is coming right up, November 29th.
Yep.
It'll be on Disney Plus.
It's just from the Netflix contract that they had.
Exactly. It's got to expire. Incredibles 2, a little further, July 30th, 2020.
That's okay.
Toy Story 4, we don't have a release date for yet, but that's still going to go to Netflix first. So that's going to be probably late 2020 or early 2021. Yeah, it could. So, and then the other thing that I was like, wow, why is this one so long? But it is the Pixar Story. It's a 2007 documentary that goes behind the scenes of Pixar. It's like an hour and a half, just under. But that's November 18th, 2021. So it's like 2 years from now. So the Pixar Story, if you haven't watched it yet. If you have the deluxe edition of WALL-E, it's on that disc.
Yeah.
The second disc. So, okay. So we already know that from an unknown date perspective, that Toy Story 4 is there. But let's talk about the Toy Story tunes. So there's a couple of these that are missing. So if you remember, there was a series called Tales from Radiator Springs, and that included Radiator Springs 500 and a half, which is on Disney Plus already. But that also included 3 shorty shorts, which were like 3-4 minute.
Not even. Like 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Shorts that were part of that called shorty shorts. And the first one that's on Disney Plus currently is called Hiccups. But there's 2 others. One's called Spinning, where Luigi's the sign spinner. And Bugged, which is with Red and like the little Volkswagen beetle bugs, as insects, are not on there. So those 2, Spinning and Bugged. There's also Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story The Time Forgot that are not on there.
What the heck? No battle sores?
Well, we own them, so that's good.
We watch them a lot.
We do. In fact, I turned it on again the other day because just even the cover art, I love the battle sores.
I know.
My gosh. So I'm excited for those 2 to come. Part of me feels like they're going to be after the new year, though, because they want people to go to ABC probably and watch it as part of the 25 Days of Christmas. And they just had Toy Story of Terror as part of the Halloween special.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's going to be kind of like not ABC, but Freeform.
Freeform now.
Yeah. So that's that. So right now you've got Toy Story 4 and then those 4 other that I just mentioned between the Spinning Bug, Toy Story of Terror, Toy Story The Time Forgot.
What about Time Travel Mater, like the other Cars tunes?
Well, so good that you brought that up because the next category is Cars tunes.
Oh, well, that was convenient.
So the grouping of Mater's Tall Tales is what you're thinking about. Yes. And the number 1 Tall Tale that was first released is Rescue Squad Mater. That's not on there. Okay. So here are the other ones. So it's Rescue Squad Mater, El Matador, Tokyo Mater.
Is not on there?
No.
Oh.
UFM, so that's Unidentified Flying Mater. Mator. Moon Mater, and Time Travel Mater. Oh. Which is such a good one.
It's such a good one.
I love that one.
Yeah, me too.
And that one premiered on Disney Movies Anywhere. That was an online launch before it hit.
Was it?
Yes, before it hit the Disney Channel.
Oh.
And then it was released in a DVD, not a Blu-ray, a DVD that came with a Lightning McQueen toy.
You're right. I remember that. I think we have that.
Of course we do. Had to get it. And then the last thing that's currently missing is the home entertainment short, which was included on Cars 3 Blu-ray, which is Mrs. Fritter's Racing School. Oh. So that one is not on there.
Party Central is?
Party Central is definitely there.
I saw, because I saw the artwork for that.
Yeah. So it's definitely there. So there's not too many. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 out of the entire Pixar catalog.
Yeah. Because Your Friend the Rat's on there. I'm thinking
which is all the other home entertainment ones, like Doug's Special Mission.
George and AJ. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess there's one, it was never really a short. It was a hidden Easter egg where there's like sock puppets that are from the Incredibles DVD. I don't know if that's going to be ported over there, but it was like...
They are adding extras, I feel like, every day. You just had mentioned it to me.
Yes. So I was looking last night and I was shocked at, from between launch to now, how many of the Blu-ray or DVD extras, deleted scenes, things like that.
And Disney Movies Anywhere exclusives.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had noticed that one with Inside Out.
Yeah.
There was 2 special features that were exclusive to Disney Movies Anywhere that you could only get through there that were just gone after Disney Movies Anywhere went away.
Right.
And now they're back. So that's exciting. So it's like, there's one about Joy and then there's another farming deleted scene. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was, speaking of Mrs. Fritter's Racing School, do you know who composed that? Composed the music for it?
No.
Jake Monaco.
I was going to say it.
You really should have, because I was setting you up.
I was going to, but then I thought maybe you were trying to trick me. I thought it was all a trick.
It's not another trivia question. So I recently had a chance to talk with him about his involvement with Pixar and composing the Forky Asks a Question series. So all 10 episodes that he had done the composition for. So for those that aren't aware, Jake has composed many, many other projects, from Netflix's Dumplin', which Dolly Parton was involved with that soundtrack as well. Let's Be Cops, Be Cool, Scooby-Doo, a ton of other projects that he's been involved with, whether himself or partnering with Christoph Beck. But we're not obviously here for that. We're here for Pixar.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to those other projects. But the first thing that he did for Pixar was he worked on a short, which is one of your absolute favorite shorts, which is Piper. Now, Adrian Belew did the music for it, but he orchestrated and arranged the music.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. You interviewed him. I was unfortunately unable to join in.
You were hanging out with Leo.
I was. But when you told me that, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, so
that's like big news for me, because that's like one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I love the music, everything.
The thing that I thought was really cool too is, he did the advertisements for Finding Dory, Incredibles 2, Cars 3, Toy Story 4, like all those TV ads that you're used to seeing, where it's like Toy Story 4. We just went through those. If you go to his site, by the way, it's just jakemonaco.com. It has a section of his projects. And if you go to Toy Story 4, it has like 7 or 8 different things that he did, from the Chrysler ad to, ADT home security for The Incredibles. It has all these different things, but it was really cool seeing all the different, we don't often think that, sometimes they might just throw temp music on those,
right.
But, they actually composed those. And one of the coolest things that I think that he did, that everybody, that's seen Toy Story 4 is going to recognize right away, but you definitely wouldn't have known. So like, I asked him before we were even recording, I think, like, some of your projects are listed as additional music. What does that qualify as? And he was like, well, like on Toy Story 4, I was asked if I could write an antique ragtime piece for the toys, like the stuffed animals and toys that are playing the instruments inside the pinball machine when Woody and Bo first come in to meet Duke Kaboom, and they're playing instruments. So he wrote that little
it's so cool
ditty that's back there, and he was like, I was kind of thinking like the cantina scene from Star Wars where they come in and there's music, a band playing, but it was like he's like, I was so intrigued by it being called antique ragtime. He's like, that was cool, like on antique instruments or whatever. So, which makes sense since it was in an antique store.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool. So some other things that you're going to hear in the interview, tons of additional details, of course, about Forky Asks a Question. Working with Bob Peterson, you're going to hear lots of cool insights there, and how Bob was not only going back and forth with him and how they kind of had to find the right balance of how much composition and answering to Forky's antics as he's doing his funny things on screen, and Bob jumping right in, and how his eyes lit up like a kid when the musicians came in with a lot of different instruments, how he got a crazy story going with a samba whistle, and how Bob was like, do this, and the guy recorded it on the whistle. So it's just super cool. The other thing that blew my mind, and this is just because I'm a music nut, is that it was recorded in Studio A of Capitol Records. Studio A is in Hollywood, like right downtown. It's world renowned. I mean, the history of it, like I even just Googled a couple people, like, who recorded in Studio A. Frank Sinatra, Paul McCartney, Michael Bublé. Studio B, right next door to it, had John Mayer, Green Day. Like, these are like massive records. Like, as soon as he said it, I was like, when he said it was Capitol Records, I was like, I swear my first involvement of knowing Capitol Records, I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it, was like Rage Against the Machine's first album, I think was recorded there like all at once versus tracking everything out separate. And he was kind of talking about trying to keep most of the instruments recorded together to keep it more alive. It was awesome.
That's cool.
I love that stuff. So as you're listening to this interview as well, keep in mind that very cool that he had passed along a clip from Money, so without the dialogue over it, so that way we could include some sections of it during the interview. So leading into the interview, we'll have the song coming up here, and then actually sprinkled throughout, you'll get other elements of the song as well. So thank you again for providing that and allowing us to include that in our interview. So enjoy this, and then we'll catch up on the back end and talk about our review of Forky Asks a Question as well. All right, so before we get too far into the conversation, let's chat a little bit about your connection to Pixar, because obviously that's the core of our audience. So for listeners that may not know, you've been involved with several Pixar projects already to date. So let me list a couple of those for a quick second. So, and you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Piper might have been your first project where you worked with arranging and orchestrating Adrian Belew's music. You composed the music for Miss Fritter's Racing School. You composed the music for a ton of Pixar's advertisements that were part of Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4. And then obviously now Forky Asks a Question. So did I get like your Pixar background at least correct?
You pretty much nailed it.
Fantastic. So so how did you first get hooked up with Pixar and make that connection?
So for about 8 years or so, I worked with another composer, Christoph Beck.
Yep.
And in 2012, I think, he got a call from Disney Animation to do the short Paperman, which then kind of led to him getting on board for the first Frozen.
Right.
And through that, I had met some of the music departments between Disney Animation and Pixar. And so my relationships there had started to develop as early as 2012, 2013. And then when I think it was early 2016, like January or so, that I got a call and asking, I'm not sure if you'd be interested in this, and I just stopped him right there and I said, yes, like whatever it is, I'm in. I'm a Disney kid at heart, and I love everything that comes out of Disney and Pixar, and I just think it's amazing storytelling. So I jumped at the opportunity, and that led to learning about Piper and kind of meeting Adrian Belew and the director Alan Barlero and the incredible team producer Mark Sondheimer. So through the course of us doing Piper, we wrapped that up, and pretty much immediately following, Mark, said, "Hey, I don't know if you're interested." And I just stopped him again. I said, "Absolutely, whatever it is." So he told me about some Finding Dory promo partner advertisement.
Okay.
That his department was starting on. So I absolutely, a cool new thing and new place to kind of explore some different techniques and whatnot. So jumped in, and one of the exciting things about these promo partners is the fact that like every one of them has an established sound thus far.
The films, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the sound of the films has been established. So it was really neat to be able to look at Finding Dory and explore the world of Thomas Newman, who did the music for Nemo and Dory. Mm-hmm. And then, the following year when Cars 3 came up, looking back to, whether it was Randy Newman or Giacchino and kind of how they had formed that sound for that franchise. And then Incredibles 2, which Giacchino has a very distinct sound for the Incredibles franchise. So, jumping into that world and this big jazz and big band thing. And then, of course, with Randy Newman and getting into Toy Story 4. So it was really neat to be able to dive into each one of those things and really explore the different ways that they write and try to emulate those. And it's a great learning experience on my end as well.
Yeah, and I think it's really neat for people that, you know, want to hear some more of your stuff too. Your site has a lot of these little clips, you know, kind of what you were talking about with playing off of the themes that are already established, like some of the promos that have been out there for Incredibles 2. You get to hear that signature da-da-da-da, and then it, you know,
yes.
and then you can launch from there. So was that like super exciting just to being able to play in that world and then meld it from there?
Even more so to be able to get some of the scores that were actually used in the film, see how they arranged it, how they voiced things. And again, I try to take every one of these things as a learning opportunity to really, you know, like to broaden my horizons as much as I can. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you then, with Forky Asks a Question, obviously, you know, you've been involved in this. They've had other people that they partnered with too, but how did this come across? Were you asked? Did you have to submit something for it, or how did this work?
I think it was late last year. Same guy, Tom McDougall, who is the head of music for Disney Animation and for Pixar, gave me a call and said, hey, I don't know if, and again, I stopped him right away. Yes, absolutely. And it turned out to be this source piece that they needed for Toy Story 4. So it's, if you've seen the movie, no spoilers here, but
anybody listening to this probably has seen it because this is like, you know, the Pixar fan site. So go for it. Spoilers included.
Yeah. Well, he tells me, he's like, so there's this antique shop and there's like this pinball machine in the antique shop. And it's kind of like a Star Wars cantina type thing. And they have a small band playing on a stage. And, you know, one guy's playing a banjo, one guy's playing drums, and another toy is playing a Moog guitar.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they want to play ragtime. So the combination there was just like, I have never heard ragtime played on a guitar, number one. But also I get to write something that these little toys are going to be playing on screen in the film. And it's like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So I wrote a little piece and they loved it. And we went back and forth a couple times. And that wound up in the film. So that kind of started my connection with Toy Story 4 and those types of characters. And pretty soon afterwards, he kind of followed up with me and just said, you know, there's this other thing. We're doing some Forky shorts, and you know, it'd be nice to be able to, you know, shape the music a little bit more. Like they're really happy with the temp, but you know, we want to do a little bit more with it. And so, of course, yes, absolutely. You know, like whatever need be done, I am happy to help in any way, shape, or form. So I flew up there and I met with Bob Peterson, who directed all 10 episodes.
Yep.
And the entire team, from Mark, the producer, Torben, the editor, like we all got together, and it was a wonderfully collaborative process right from the very beginning. Bob was very open with what his intent was behind his approach to all of the shorts. And we kind of started off with the first 5, and we did those in a batch. And then once those were completed, we jumped on to the second 5.
So when you started diving in, because one of my questions was actually, did you partner up with Bob Peterson? So I'm glad you answered that. But as far as like when you guys sat down and started talking about this and getting into it, where was the stage of the animation? Did they show you animatics? Was it storyboards? Was it rough animation? Was it like finished animation? Where did you get brought in within the process?
It definitely wasn't finished completely. However, it was far past storyboard at this point.
Okay.
So we were looking at things in color. Some of the scenes were, just characters kind of there and, sitting there while the dialogue took place. And then, there'd be a cut to something else. So you kind of knew what was going on. You could imagine. And, we talked through some of these somewhat unfinished scenes. But, in terms of some of the rigging and things like that, that was all pretty much there. But it turns out that it didn't matter too much, honestly, because of the kind of direction and approach that the music ended up taking.
Okay. So how did Bob dive in then and say, like, this is a style that we want? You mentioned Tom said, we're not really 100% happy, or they're okay with the temp. But yeah, how did Bob then approach it and say, because I know he's like a super high energy guy. And I know he really knows how to passionately tell you what he's looking for. I mean, he's known as a vocal actor as well as a director and artist and all these other great things. But yeah, so how did he tell you? And I guess it kind of can lead me to my next question too, which kind of blends into that. Is there a similar thread throughout all of the different shorts, or is each one kind of a standalone piece?
Bob's approach at first was he had just laid in some jazz trio tracks that just gave a little bit of movement, a little bit of pep behind what was happening.
Yep.
And it didn't comment too much on what was directly what was happening on screen. And initially that was actually something that took me a couple tries to wrap my head entirely around. It's a little counterintuitive to the way that I would normally work with animation, where I would specifically comment on something that's happening visually. So, if they're teeing up a gag, and whether I drop out for the music, or I drop out for the comedy, or maybe I accent it somehow, depending on the age group and the demographic that we're shooting for and whatnot. But so I did that on my first pass, and Bob was like, "No, it's too much. Like you're stopping too much, or you're acknowledging too much of what's happening." I was like, "Well, yeah, that's the point of scoring it, right?"
Yeah, accenting the visuals. Yeah,
exactly. So every time through the first five, he'd be like, "No, pull it back a little bit more. We don't need as much. Pull it back." And he kept pushing me in that direction. And eventually, it just clicked that I understood now where he was coming from. That Forky doesn't need all of that musical support. He just needs a little something in the background, because he can carry any scene by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hale is incredible, and what he did to bring this character to life is unbelievable. So it was my job just to support a little bit of what's happening, in the underbelly of the main parts of these scenes. Now, and when we get into the back five, we tend to divert a little bit further from this, which is fun in and of itself. But and that kind of rolls into your second question, where the thematically, or any kind of cohesive thread that goes between the 10. We always kind of start with this jazz trio type of sound, and I kind of broadened that a little bit to have a few more colors in there. But we were always sitting around maybe 6 players, brought in a trumpet and trombone on top of the drums, bass, keys, had a guitar in there too, and but we kept it pretty small. And so that is really the running theme throughout. There isn't necessarily a specific theme or specific motif that is capitalized on, but I think the sonic nature is what connects them all together. And in other episodes, as we work our way through, like I said, some do divert. There's one called Leader that embraces a conga line it was a lot of fun to be able to completely change direction and go in this kind of Ricky Ricardo, very 50s, 60s style, Cuban sound.
Yeah. We received a sample track, and I was very excited to be able to hear the sound for the first one, the composition for the first one, Money. And this one, it kind of has, like you're talking about, it has that jazz feel, but, it kind of had this little Django Reinhardt, almost like this comedic French feel at the same time. Am I picking up on anything, or am I way off on that one?
The kind of Django approach was definitely an inspiration that wasn't in the temp specifically, but I wanted to try to, grab different elements from different places, and, to try to, find the right inspiration and be able to have something that's a little bit fun and light, because that really embraces Forky's personality.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So the one instrument I really want to talk about, I love the recording of the drums. There's something about in that track Money that it really works. So it sounds like you've got a really nice kit. Was it a classic kit that went along with it, or is it just the way that it came across in the recording? Because it sounds really good with it, and I'm assuming brushes that are used when it's played.
Yes. So it was definitely a combination of the two. The drummer that we had on there, his name was Dave Tull, an incredible drummer and just all around amazing guy and personality. And he and the other musicians had heard a couple of the tracks, my demos, prior to the recording session. So they were able to kind of hear the approach that I was going for. And so Dave immediately was like, okay, it's this kind of kit. And I couldn't even tell you what kind of kit it was.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's why you rely on the musicians too, right? Because they add their color as well.
Exactly. But in terms of like the approach of miking it and mixing it, everything is supposed to feel, it's all very homemade and it's all organic.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stretches out too far. And that's Forky in and of himself as well. He is homemade. He is Bonnie's toy. And so trying to just embrace that raw organic feel was something that both Bob and I were very much after collaboratively.
Yeah. And that's a better way to state it than what I was trying to get at with the drums and how it was recorded and the sound of it. Because yes, I listened to a ton of live recorded 50s, 60s jazz, and it has that feel to it that's so natural, that feels like it's happening at the moment. So I really love that score for Money, and I can't wait to hear the rest of them too. But that one I really connected with. I've pulled it up on my phone. I've listened to it in the car. I've listened to it on my HomePod. So I'm trying to like sample it across multiple speakers to make sure I'm picking up on all the little nuances.
I think you've listened to it on more platforms than I have at this point.
Well, I got to try to embrace Forky. Okay, so where did you guys, when you get into it, you've gone through the different processes, and he said, yes, let's go forward with this. Where did you guys record this?
So we set up a date at Capitol Records in Hollywood, and in their A studio, which is large enough to accommodate, probably a dozen players or so. We had one room that had our drummer, Dave Tull, in it, and then the larger room, we had trombone, trumpet, violin. We had some percussion in there at one time, and then we kind of separated the guitar into another room as well. Violin makes an appearance on a couple tracks. So we booked the studio for the day and got everything set up in the morning, and then Bob and the creative team flew down, and we'd all meet over at Capitol, and we would just kind of jump in. The first hour or so was always a little bit slow, making sure that everything is, put together correctly and making sure everything sounds right. And then we would venture forward, and, by our fourth or fifth hour, we're usually wrapping up. And from there, then I would proceed to go with my engineer, and we would mix and then send them stuff back. And then we'd do another round of notes after we've recorded and mixed everything and make any further tweaks. But Capitol was amazing, and being in that room, and the history behind it, and being able to have Forky be a part of that as well now.
I know, and I know that I've seen pictures of that studio, and that is, you're right, the history of it is amazing. And I was excited to hear that Bob came down as well.
Having Bob be there, he was just as involved in the production at that point as I was. I mean, I would run my first couple passes with the musicians. I would, tweak out a couple of rough spots here and there. And once I got it to a place where I was feeling pretty good, I'd turn around and say, Bob, okay, your turn. and then he would start giving me, well, what if we did this here? What if we tried this? And all of his ideas were very well thought out ideas. They weren't just, let's throw this in here, or something that's kind of random or displaced, but everything had a very specific intent behind it. And that is something that I very much admire about Bob's work. So having him there and being able to contribute and having that collaborative process go all the way through, scoring and mixing and, all the way to the end was great.
Yeah. Any particular moments or memories that stood out, or comments that that Bob had either said, or something that even just happened organically during the recording process that kind of stood out?
I remember on Leader, the conga line one, we had a percussionist come in, and he brought all sorts of toys. And I just remember seeing Bob's face, and he got so excited to see all these different things. And because as I was doing the demos and we were sending him in, I was doing the best I could in terms of representing, all the different elements that can be in there and, to create this piece. But it wasn't going to be until we actually got into the room with the percussionist and seeing exactly what he has, and also telling him, listen, this is the inspiration for this track. So what authentic things, are these timbales that you're using are these from, this era? And, if they play like this, and, so we actually stood in the room with the percussionist for 5-10 minutes, and he walked us through a bunch of stuff. And, Bob wanted to, experiment with a lot of the stuff. And I remember one thing specifically, he said, yeah, I really want like a whistle, like a samba whistle type thing at the end. And I'm thinking like, I don't have a samba whistle sample. I could find one. I could buy one. I mean, I could play around with that, but it's not going to be as authentic as if we just talk to the musician and we experiment on the stage. And I don't particularly love leaving anything to the last minute like that. However, something like as simple as a whistle, I felt comfortable doing that. So we get to the end of this process, and so we probably do like 10 takes of this guy playing the whistle. And eventually Bob stands up and he's like, no. He's like, what if it was like that, or something like that? Wow. And the guy plays it. He's like, yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. Throughout the process, did you, because obviously you're a musician yourself, did you lend a hand to any of the instruments that are actually laid down on the tracks?
Here and there, yes. I play guitar, and so there was a couple of filler parts, but I wanted the goal really to be to have as much of the music performed live and together as possible. Yeah. A lot of times, due to whether it's budgetary restrictions or time restrictions or whatever, these scores have to be kind of put together piecemeal, and it takes a little bit of the life out of it, just in terms of having all the players in the same room and actually vibing off each other. And it's all in all, it's an experience, for the composer as well as the musicians and, the creative team for Bob. So a lot of the time I wanted to actually just mute what I had done, even though it was fine. I would rather have somebody else play it and be able to, kind of combine everything together in the same room.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Well, it plays into that, like we were talking earlier, the live element of that jazz, that classic feel. There is something that's more alive, that's more real, that's genuine when it's happening all at the same time versus, tracking everything out individually. So that's, again, I can't wait to hear more of these tracks, especially this. What was it? Legend again? Leader. Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense with the conga line. So yeah, I can't wait to hear more of these that are going to come out. Is there one of them that you feel kind of really hit the nail on the head, or when you watch it or listen to it again, you're like, this? I just love how it all came together.
What is Time?
Yeah,
is one of my favorites. That stays within the jazz realm. I think its peppy kind of tick-tock nature to it, given that they are talking about time, is just something that kind of like, it just gets your toe tapping and just kind of like, moves you along. And it's simplistic in its composition, but I think, it's catchy, and it is the one that I find myself humming inadvertently here and there. So,
oh wow, okay, so yeah, that definitely means something. If after it's all said and done, that's the one that's the earworm that's sticking in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's another one that's what if Pet. That was a fun diversion in some spots from the normal jazz sonic world that we've been living in, and pushes it a little bit into the dragnet and like noir, LA noir 50s realm of things. And there are these cool shots where it kind of goes into this, black and white visual, and it's very evocative of like Bernard Herrmann and that period of time, which was fun to go back to and actually listen and again get inside of those pieces and be like, oh, this is what they're doing there. How can I take this type of device and do something original with it, but still have it be evocative of that time period in the final product.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm assuming that, and you don't have to confirm anything or deny anything, but I'm assuming this is the one we heard that Rib Tickles, which was Giggle McDimple's partner in the movie. This has got to be the one that Rib Tickles makes a feature in.
That is the one.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense as well. They're kind of like, the pets, he's a little dog. So that's awesome. Yeah. We can't wait to hear this. Man, and I'm so bummed that these are coming out. I mean, obviously I'm not bummed that they're coming out. I'm bummed that they're coming out on a weekly basis, so I can't just binge them all immediately. So this is going to add such an extra layer for everybody that's listening to this, to not just watch the short for what it is, to be able to experience and know the passion that went behind it as well, is super cool. One of the other things I was thinking about, just in general with the timeline, once you received, that you're going to be working on the project and had some kickoff conversations, how long do you have to typically put together, I guess if you said they were grouped in packages, like the first package of the 5 of them, and how long is like that whole process from when you initially go in to the different iterations to once you actually record and are all set afterwards?
I think with each batch, we had about 6 to 8 weeks, which honestly is fairly luxurious. I should say that every project varies in the timeline that I get to be involved.
Sure.
With. So, some of these projects, I've been involved at script level. In fact, there's another Pixar Spark short that I'm about to record next week that I've been working with the director on since last year, when he had this idea and he had put some storyboards together, and I started doing some music and we were kind of putting it in. So there was never any temp music in there. And so we got to do something that was completely original right from the start. And then this was before it was even accepted into the Spark program.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, we're not doing anything on it for a year. And about 2 months ago, it came back and it was like, okay, we actually have like rough animation at this point, and we're ready to jump back in. And so I think it was like 15 months is what some of the file dates that I was looking at. It was like last July is when I closed this stuff for the last time, and being able to like reopen it and, familiarize myself with what we were doing again was a lot of fun. And then some projects I have gotten calls to be like, okay, we need a replacement for what's been happening here. And by the way, the dub starts in 17 days. So we need 35 minutes of music. So there's a lot of variation.
Yeah. As it is with any project, sometimes, with all the best intentions, something just goes awry, and therefore the people downstream don't get brought in as early or whatever it might be. So, yep, for sure. So obviously you've been to the studios.
Yes.
What is your favorite part of going to the studio?
I could probably fill up the entire podcast with things that are so cool up at Pixar. Firstly, that each of the animators that have their own space, they get to actually take time and they can turn their cubicle, or so to speak, into whatever really that they want.
Yeah. And
so walking through some of these areas, I'm seeing little tiki huts in the middle of an open floor plan. And this is where they're working. Like, and another guy has like a little speakeasy lounge. And I mean, like, it's unbelievable. Like the creativity that everybody has up there, not only in what they're doing, but just in how they're living in general. And I think that makes everybody up there a much happier individual. And I cannot speak more highly of, just the way that Pixar runs their business and their attentiveness to their employees. And it just seems like everybody is just on cloud nine, whenever I have interactions with people up there. It's just all the stories and whatnot are just great. Yeah. There's a bunch of legitimate old school arcade games. There's an entire wall that they're turning into, like, the Muppet wall from like the old Muppet movies. Yeah. Okay.
With the lights that they're putting it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's so awesome.
So cool.
And they've got random spots where there's just instruments set up ready to go, so people can just jam whenever they want.
It's true. There's a stage set up there. I mean, it's so great. They used to have like Friday nights, there'd be a Pixar band, employees there that each play an instrument or whatever. They get up there and play a set or whatever. I think it's so cool that there's that type of community in a workplace like that, and I think it's great.
Before I let you go, though, I want to also talk about just a little bit about you. So, how did you land in composing? Did you always have a bend towards a musical background that you wanted to drive towards? Just give us a little bit more about, so people can know about Jake.
So I started playing guitar at a young age, and kind of was doing the singer-songwriter thing in high school and then in college. Got a band together, and we did a couple albums. We toured around to colleges, And that was always kind of what I wanted to do was, I wanted to go the whole rock star route.
Who doesn't?
And yeah, exactly. But so we were in Richmond, Virginia at the time, and it was great. We had a great time. And meanwhile, while we were doing that, I was also involved in an a cappella group at the college. I was involved with a professional choir that went over to Europe and toured around for 10 days or so. So trying to, keep in mind and broaden as much of my musical horizon as I could at the time. Just trying to gain as much knowledge, and while also studying the technology side of music. And that was kind of the focus of my degree, working with, whether it was Pro Tools or Digital Performer at the time, or, all these programs, and listening to electroacoustic music and these just really weird out there things. There's this festival that's put on at the University of Richmond every year called the Third Practice Festival. And a lot of it I just didn't understand, but hearing it was really cool. And then, just like seeing how they did this stuff and wow, like why that? And how did you do this? And then seeing the connections that, that everybody had and things were made. It was really interesting. And being able to take all of the knowledge from the different parts of my time at the University of Richmond. And eventually the band was kind of parting ways. And I wanted to kind of continue on through music. And it was brought to my attention about this program at the University of Southern California. There's a 1-year program that's for scoring for motion pictures and television. And I went out and visited it, and I immediately fell in love. I went to one of their first scoring sessions. It blew my mind that like these musicians were reading this music for the first time and how it was sounding. And it was amazing to me. And I always found it a little bit difficult to, find a purpose to write a song, or write the lyrics for a song. I needed some sort of inspiration behind it. And when it hit, that was great. But when it didn't, then it was like, I want to write something, but I don't know what to write.
Right.
So this connection between film and music, or TV, or any sort of media for that matter, the story is there. And it's more about how to support the story with the music. And I don't have to worry about the lyrics because the dialogue is up there. Yeah. So now it's that connection is there. And so it's really just about, supporting the story. And I think that's that, and the collaborative process between these. I love this career, and every day is different, and it's great.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it definitely sounds like, it's one of those things that, although the rock star path might have diverged a little bit, it probably ended up on the better side of things in terms of, the breadth of things that you get to work on and how far you get to stretch yourself musically and everything else that goes along with that. So that sounds fantastic.
I couldn't agree more. I can't remember lyrics for the life of me, so it was probably good that I wasn't on a stage anymore, and that way I can be behind the scenes now.
There you go. Well, obviously, I thank you again for taking the time. I cannot wait for everybody to be able to experience Forky Asks a Question starting November 12th on Disney+. The podcast will be hitting right about that same time that it's going to be released. So obviously everybody listening to this, just know that, listen in a little bit stronger to that music that's driving the story and kind of supplementing it along the way. We can't thank you enough for taking the time, Jake. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.
All right, so that was our interview and chat with Jake Monaco. So the thing that I took away from it, it was another one of, we've had this discussion before, you and I.
Yes.
About, he's a very similar age. I mean, I'm older, but he's a little younger than me. He has a son that's the exact age as our son. And it's in one of those like, what am I doing with my life moments?
I know. We talk about this all the time.
I know.
Gosh, it just makes us feel like, what the heck?
I know.
We do have a wonderful life, though. But
we do.
But we do have we have job envy.
Well, that's the thing is when you talk to people that have really, really cool jobs that get to do these deep creations, we get jealous of it because creating is so amazing.
Yeah,
to create
I feel
something
like we're
from
creative
nothing.
people, and we strive to be in like a creative environment. So when you talk to these people and like artists of all kinds.
Yeah.
You're just like, son of a gun.
Exactly.
Job envy.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about so thanks again to Jake, by the way.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
And, just keep in mind that he's also scoring Lamp Life featuring Bo Peep. So if you didn't know Jake Monaco before, you'd better know him now and keep him on the radar, because it certainly seems like he's going to be around Pixar some more, eh?
He's definitely making a name for himself at Pixar.
Working on a Spark short.
Yeah.
Doing Lamp Life, which will be out in February, upcoming February.
Yeah.
So there's lots going on, lots of exciting things for Jake Monaco, and I will definitely be sending him a message, giving him a call when it comes time for Lamp Life discussions, because now I want to talk again.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's give our thoughts on the project that he worked on. So Forky asks a question. So far, there have been 2 episodes that have been out, but I want to talk about all the titles, because I believe that this is the first time that we have the titles. Now, granted, some of these could be wrong. We've heard different things, so we're kind of sharing some of these. We know that there is obviously the first one was What is Money? The second one is What is a Friend? The third one that's coming up this Friday, November 22nd, is What is Art? Now, some of the other ones, I'm going to do these alphabetical after the What is.
Yeah.
So there's going to be What is Cheese, which we saw in the trailer.
Yes.
Which is, how crazy is that one going to be?
Gosh.
What is Cheese, featuring Buttercup, and then we presume the Peas in a Pod and Mr. Spell are also part of this same episode, because there's a book open that has a picture of a grilled cheese in it. So you got to assume it's part of that same episode.
It could be, because I feel like the Peas in the Pod, it's kids. Kids like cheese, so maybe.
Yeah. Kids like cheese. Everybody likes cheese. Do you know how many pounds of cheese the average American eats in a year? It's like it's ungodly.
Yeah.
So there's also What is the Internet, featuring Trixie, which makes total sense.
Total sense.
She's the one that pulls up the map in Toy Story 3. She's just talking to a dinosaur friend down the street. She's doing online multiplayer fantasy games with Rex.
Yep.
So yeah, the Rexing Ball. Can you make my arms bigger? So there's What is a Leader, which we talked about with Jake, which is where there's like a conga line. And with the samba whistle. There's What is Love. There's What is a Pet, featuring Rib Tickles. So this is the return of Rib Tickles, the character that was cut from Toy Story 4 that was Giggle McDimple's partner.
Little sidekick, yeah.
Yeah. So Rib Tickles is back in that one. Fine. And then What is Reading, which that one, the music is super cool. It's very much like sitting by a fire, calming piano. Ends a little more raucously, but then there's What is Time, featuring, of course, Old Timer.
Tuna fish.
Yeah. Which I swear not many people probably know that, because that's one of the commercials that's on the DVD extras of Toy Story of Terror.
Yes, but we must quote that.
Oh, all the time. Anytime something stinks.
Tuna fish. Yeah.
So it's that.
That is the best.
I know.
That is the absolute best. Oh my goodness. I wish I would have seen and known who created that.
That line?
That line.
Yes, we need to ask.
Oh my goodness. That literally makes me want to cry laughing every time.
It's so funny because the kid pulls out of it's the fake commercial that they made for
but it looks like
the
a
old
70s
80
yeah,
it's like 70s 80s exactly, but it's like the kid pulls out of a brown paper bag a loose tuna fish like full of tuna, and he shows it to the old timer toy, and old timer without moving his mouth or anything because he's a static clock.
So it's just like a narration of tuna fish.
It's the way that the sounds.
Gosh, it is solid gold.
Yes, it absolutely is. So we're excited that Old Timer is going to be in one of these, and then Rex is in that one.
I will
one
lose
as well.
it if they say something like that, or if Forky says something. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So, and then we know there's 3 more characters. I don't know exactly where they slot, but the ones that don't have characters slotted already is What is a Leader, What is Love, What is Reading. And the characters that were said in other articles are Lenny, so that the binoculars, or the binoculars, RC, and then Mr. Potato Head. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get Mr. Potato Head in there. He's probably going to be more of a background, because obviously he didn't record lines for it. So hopefully they just, reuse some of his old dialogue again, but it'll be interesting to see.
But then there's also other characters within Bonnie's room that could be featured.
Yeah, of course they could. These
Such
are just
as the toys in her closet. Like when Woody got cast away in Bonnie's closet.
You're right. That's right.
Like like Carol Burnett. Like
Right.
they could
lots to come.
maybe feature.
Yeah.
You never know.
Stay tuned to your upcoming issue of the D23 magazine coming in the mail soon.
Yes.
Might find out some more, hey?
Hey.
In fact, ours is in the mail currently. I got the tracking number for it yesterday.
Oh, awesome.
Coming from Compton, California. So, I think that
But what did we think about Forky?
yeah, so I was going to say those are the episodes.
Yeah.
So yes, you tell me first. What do you think of these shorts?
I love them.
Okay, what do you love about them?
Okay, first off, I wish they were longer because
Absolutely.
Tony Hale is,
We liked him before.
we already liked him before.
Now we love
already
him.
like loved him before. Now I adore him.
Yes.
He's Forky. There's no one else that could do his voice, and just like he's so like hilarious and sincere
Yeah.
and silly.
Yeah.
And like, you just like, he's honestly like an animated version of Joey from Friends.
Yeah, I guess a little
Like,
bit.
he's
Yeah.
just kind of like,
Yeah, what are you doing?
yeah, just kind of like innocent, but like
But charming.
Yeah. It's just
Lovable.
So lovable. Like, it's just, it's perfect.
It's silly, so much fun. You laugh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, and our son Leo he loves the shorts too.
Oh, yeah.
And he quotes them all the time.
What's the line that he says the most?
That looks like a lady.
So
that's
awesome.
that's the one he says from the money one. What is
Right.
money?
Right.
He says it all the time. That looks like a lady.
Yeah.
And then what is a friend? He says, what? No. I mean, obviously,
Well,
because
but doesn't he also say the...
that's subtle or subtle. He says subtle all the time.
Subtle.
Like
Yeah.
he'll be doing something or I'll do something. He goes, that's subtle. Like, oh my gosh. It's like a little snarky comment, but he doesn't know what he's saying. He just says it just like Forky too. He like delivers it. Ooh, that's subtle.
Right.
Like,
I love that, so the series starts with the music of, Jake Monaco with Forky kind of walking into the scene.
and the music is great. It fits perfectly.
Perfectly.
It's so upbeat.
Yeah.
And it just matches the mood. Like it makes you smile. As soon as it comes on.
It feels good.
The music, it feels good.
Yeah, you do. You feel good after it's done. After like 2 minutes, you get it's like a little catnap. You just feel like,
It's like sunshine.
My
It is like
yeah, there you
sunshine for your
go.
ears. It is like literally, it's like it's happy. It's just wonderful. And then paired with Forky, and then then you're kind of learning stuff,
Right.
about when it's just,
it's an accepted means of currency,
yeah. Oh my gosh, these are genius.
I love them.
love the whole
I'm
team
so-
behind them. And I really hope, it says season 1. I really, truly hope they keep doing it, or maybe they make like a,
Wait, doesn't it say season 1 just on Pixar in real life?
oh, does it?
Yeah, I don't think it says season 1.
Son of a
on there.
gun. Oh my goodness. I hope, because I love these so much.
I know, I do too.
They've only been 2, and we've
2. We've watched them.
a ton of times.
Yeah. So it starts out, the reason why I really like it too is the first one sets the whole stage for everything. It says, hey, Forky here. What's everything about? I don't know. I was made from trash like 2 days ago, and so I got a lot of questions, believe you me. And now it's time for one of those. So it's like it starts off the series so perfectly in like one long sentence. It says, I love how he's got even like, he doesn't know anything, but he already knows like full English language, and he's like, saying crazy words. So I got a lot of questions, believe you me.
I know. And what I really love is, I think your computer just started turning on. Yeah, it scared me at first. Ham's name
Yes.
constantly is calling him something else
So it starts right at the beginning where he calls him Hand
in the first
in
episode.
the first one. And he says, now I'm going to say your name 7 times. So he's like, ham, 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 ham. And then at the end of that, he goes, now I'm going to think of a smell to even further lock that into my memory. Oh, gross.
Ew. I know. But then
Ew, gross.
in the second episode, what is a friend? He's like, oh, Martin.
Okay, so
Trevor.
What are all the names that he calls him? That was going to be one of my other trivia questions.
Hand.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Martin.
Yeah.
And Trevor.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Trevor.
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh, I hope they continue that too.
Yes. So the thing is, though, is Ham going to be in every one of them? Or because if they, I feel like he has to be in I want him to be in it for like a fourth of a second in every one, just so that way he can call him something wrong. Because I love long running gags. Yes,
I know you do.
So good.
Yeah.
Callbacks. I mean, it's like when we go see comedians, and you always say I like when they circle back at the end and like tell a joke to like finish it how it started. Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's good storytelling right there. I mean, it just makes it more fun. Yeah, he says, "Wow, that looks like a lady." Love that line too when he's talking about the quarter, and he's like,
When it's funny because when Leo and I first watched it, it ended up being like when Disney Plus released. It was a snow day for us. We got 10 inches of snow here.
That's right.
So school was canceled. So Leo and I snuggled up on the couch, and I did like an Instagram story. And so I was like live asking him, I was like, what was your favorite, what was your favorite line? And he goes, "Ooh, that looks like a lady."
So good.
It just was so funny. I just wasn't expecting that he remembered like a line. I just thought he was going to be like, I don't know.
Well, then when he's like spinning his eyes, when Ham's trying to get all, serious, and he's like,
dizzy.
"Ooh," and after the credits, "Ooh, I'm getting dizzy." Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant shorts. Bob Peterson nailed it out of the park. The team nailed it out of the park. The music's great. The animation's great.
They're so happy.
And how hilarious. Who thought of the line where, like, the setup of the gag where it's like, and I know that's his name because Bonnie's mom always carries him around and says, "What? No," when she's talking on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
Like, who thought of that? Who really had someone in their life doing that?
Well, because you're talking on a phone, drinking coffee. What? No. I mean, it's just like,
it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. It's awesome.
Yes.
It is so awesome.
Yeah.
All the minds.
And then probably my favorite part, beyond the fact that this is if you want to be a vocal actor, this is a free lesson. This series is a free lesson. Because you're listening to Tony Hale, you're listening to, so far, him and John Ratzenberger, and they are knocking it out of the park. But the other thing that I love is his name he's calling him What No, and when it falls off the desk and breaks, and he says, "What? No!"
And it
cuts before the no is done. So it would be like, here, I'll mute my microphone. It'll be like, "What? No!"
Yeah.
So yeah, I just absolutely think that is genius writing, that they tie it all in. Like, because you would say no if something like that breaks that you think is so cool. And I love the sound of his feet that they make when he dances.
I know.
Friends, dude, I bet Friends do a lot of dancing.
Yeah, it's like a cute little tappy noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one is What is Art, coming up this Friday. So we know that Mr. Pricklepants is classically trained and even has a bend towards Shakespeare as he performs the classic Romeo and Juliet balcony scene at the end of Toy Story 3. Oh, what light breaks through yonder? Yeah. Dreadful. Brilliant. So in this upcoming episode, it's a strolling kind of Renaissance song. So it sounds very much like Renaissance music and moves the episode forward as Mr. Pricklepants expounds about what art is to him. Because, of course, you must suffer for your art. So really cool. I'm excited for Friday.
Me too.
I love it. So we're going to be able to get up first thing in the morning and watch it because these episodes release we're on Eastern time at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So what do you think? Does that give us a good sense about Forky?
I think so.
And be sure to stay tuned to our posts that we're going to be posting regarding the Forky Asks a Question show as well, because we're going to continually be updating that with who are the other characters that are part of it. We're going to be putting our reviews, and then it breaks down, like I've got notes of it here, like we're going to have a section for our favorite lines, our favorite gags, as well as some screenshots and images from it. So be sure to stay tuned for that as well. All right, so what do you think? Does that wrap up this episode of the Pixar Post podcast?
I think so.
All right, well, in the meantime, be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. Lastly, if you like today's show, let us know. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, leave a comment on our site, or send us an email at info@pixarpost.com. Signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to pixarpost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.